What's going on, people? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Just before we get into the video, obviously, if you could, everyone could hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. That would be nice, because I've noticed, a lot of people that are watching it are not actually subscribed. So if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be nice. Yeah, so Tyson Fury defeats Arslanbek Makhmudov quite easily, quite convincingly, and it didn't really look like he broke a sweat. After being out of the ring for 16 months, that performance couldn't have really been any better, to be honest. Yeah, it was definitely like a maybe, I'd rate the performance maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. I think it was a good overall performance against someone that looked just like, it didn't look like he wanted it in there. It didn't look like he wanted to win. And it kind of maybe looked like, the occasion was getting to him. The fact that he was in there fighting Tyson Fury, who he's called a legend. And, maybe Fury was just too much for him, and that's what it did look like in the, other than the first round, where obviously Fury, with the ring rust being out for 16 months, it's he was just kind of, getting in his rhythm, getting in his flow, not taking too many risks, and, kind of warming into the fight, which is what I expected. And I expected Makhmudov to come out fast and, go for him, try swing wildly at him, which is what happened. The first round, it looked kind of like Tyson was in trouble a little bit, and the camera went to, Tyson's brothers, like Shane and Tommy, and, did you see their expressions like that? Because Tyson, Arslanbek was going forward, and, Tyson was moving back in straight lines, and he wasn't really throwing anything. He was just trying to get out the way and evade shots. So, it was a bit of nervous moments there, especially with the ring rust, like I said. But other than the first round, after like the second round, it was kind of a feeling out period as well. Makhmudov was just like coming forward in straight lines and didn't really have a game plan in there. Like, he just looked like outclassed. He just looked like, Tyson Fury. It just looked like it was just too much for him to be in there. But other than that, I pretty much gave Tyson every single round, other than the first one and maybe the second one, because obviously in the first round Tyson wasn't really throwing much punches, but he still got the punch resistance, because Makhmudov did land some decent shots on him, which is obviously is gonna happen. It's boxing, you're gonna get hit. His legs looked okay. I'm not gonna say they look like how they used to, but he looked like he started in the first 2 rounds. He wasn't moving. After the third round, he started moving around the ring, circling him, and obviously I knew that eventually Tyson would start getting to him, and he did that. Started landing his jab, flicking out that jab, what he likes to throw out, which Andre Ward on commentary was saying, which is illegal. It's technically illegal, but I actually didn't know that, so I learned something from that, because you can't hit with the back of your glove. But Andre Ward said, if it's not the referee's job to stopping it, then obviously it's Makhmudov's job to counter that and see if he can get past that. But he was landing his jab, landing big shots as well, and started get more in his groove, started showboating a little bit. But I think that showboating from Fury is like kind of how he gets in his groove. I don't think he's trying to be cocky, which he is a confident fighter, but I feel like that's just him and his style fighting. I feel like he doesn't even he doesn't think about doing it, and he just does it without thinking. But as far as a comeback fight, it was a good fight, but the person he was fighting obviously wasn't it didn't look like he wanted to be in there at times, and looked kind of like shell shocked, and looked like the occasion was getting to him a bit too much. And he's not got the greatest of gas tanks, Makhmudov, and I think Fury, the later the fight went, the more chance of Makhmudov winning the fight was just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And one thing I'd say about Tyson is that he's always had a good gas tank, always had stamina, and always fit in the fight. And it was clear to see that Makhmudov was breathing heavily, after like the 4th or 5th round, and even late in the fight, Tyson looked fresh, and he mentioned that after the fight that, you know, he felt like he was fresh and he could have went for, you know, so many more rounds, and he looked fresh in the end. Obviously, he must have took like a big punch because he had like a something under his eye, so he must have took a shot there. But like I said, it was quite easy for Fury in the end, and yeah, he'll be moving on now to the next fight. But yeah, it was just like, obviously I wanted to talk about what happened after the fight with Anthony Joshua. To me, it looked like Fury, you know, wants that fight next. Fury like kind of dominated that words of exchange of words. Even the fact that Fury was like standing up in the ring, it was all kind of a little bit weird, to be honest. Like it was just a weird situation. It was kind of awkward. Tyson was telling him to get in the ring at first. He was like, no, and AJ was like, no, I don't want to get in, it's your night. But, you know, if he wanted the fight, he should have just got in the ring. And I just think from Anthony Joshua, it was just like, I think he doesn't want that fight next, because he alluded to that, you know, that he was the boss and he works on his terms and not on Tyson Fury's terms. And Tyson kind of just, you know, kind of drawed him out. And it seemed like Anthony Joshua, to me, I don't know, he just seemed a little bit shocked, and didn't kind of know what to say, because it felt like he was gathering his thoughts before saying, because I was looking, the camera was on Anthony Joshua, and it seemed like, you know, he didn't want to say the wrong thing, and he was thinking a lot about what he was going to say, and he finally got the mic, and he was just saying how that, you know, he's going to fight on his terms, and he's not going to let Tyson Fury, you know, kind of, you know, push him into that fight next. And obviously, I think that fight needs to happen next, or obviously next, or Tyson Fury's next fight, or Anthony Joshua wants one fight before, after, and then to have one fight and then fight after the Fury fight. But to me, I think for Anthony Joshua it's too soon to go straight into that Fury fight, because we don't really know how it's gonna affect him. I know he's obviously back into boxing, but he's definitely gonna have a fight. But with the accident, you don't know how it's gonna affect him, and in my personal opinion, it still looks like it's affected him in some sort of way. He might not even know that himself, but in my personal opinion, it looks like it's affected him. And even the other day, it was last week when he had an interview, and, you know, I think one of the reporters brought up the accident, and he kind of said to the reporter that, you know, let's not talk about that. I want to talk about, you know, moving forward. And obviously, he don't want to talk about it, but that just kind of shows that, you know, he might not be over it yet in his head, which is fair, because having something like that happen, you know, it's not going to be easy to get over. So that's why I think that, you know, it might be too soon for him to, you know, just jump straight back into the ring with Fury. But I just thought it was interesting to see, you know, that altercation, what happened. It was like interesting. But, you know, Tyson himself said that he's signed a 3-fight deal, so he wants to get out 2 more times, obviously, this year. But then again, he contradicted himself as well, which obviously you have to take what Tyson says with a pinch of salt, because he said also that if he doesn't want the Anthony Joshua fight, he doesn't want to fight at all. He said he's not interested in fighting, you know, he alluded to that he's not interested in fighting, you know, like the up-and-coming heavyweights. He just wants basically the big fight, which everyone wants to see, because he said that, oh, like, obviously he's been through what these young heavyweights have already been through, which is like, and, you know, he said that when he fought Chisora and Wilder, he was like, he was undefeated. So he did contradict himself there. Obviously, if the AJ fight doesn't come through, he said he doesn't want to fight at all, which is just confusing, because he's got a 3-fight deal. So I don't know what's going to happen with that situation. But, you know, the performance itself was a good performance. Couldn't have went really better, to be honest. But like I said, you can only fight what's in front of you in boxing. And if the guy just come, you know, at the end you could tell he just wanted to hear that last bell. So it was one of them. Obviously, if he was to fight someone else, it might have been a different story. Someone might have pushed him. It might have been a completely different fight. So yeah, that's what I think about it. It was a decent card. Conor Ben fight as well was decent, but I just wanted to come in here and talk about that. That's the main fight that happened last night. What do you think will be happening next? In the comment section, comment below. What do you think is next for, once these fights all have been done this month in heavyweight season, then the landscape of the heavyweight division will be different, and it will be easier to see what's going to be happening, who's going to be fighting who, because you need to find out the results of Dubois, Fabio Wardley, what they're going to be doing, because Ajit Kabayal is obviously he's mandatory, so what's going to happen with that, who's going to fight the winner of them fights. So it'll be easier to see what's going to be happening next after these fights have happened. But other than that, people, I'm gonna end the video there. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be nice, like I said in the beginning of the video. Like this video as well, and I'll see you again in the next one.